Hey everyone, Nick from Mossy Creek with this week's fly fishing forecast. Today is Monday, January 16th. It's the week after the Virginia Fly Fishing Festival. We just wanted to take a second and thank everyone who came out this weekend. Part of it being a success is because of you guys. Everyone who shopped with us came out to say hey, cast rods, tell fish stories. It's always one of our favorite weekends to see our friends from Richmond and everyone who traveled, so thank you guys. We look forward to seeing you in a few weeks at the Rapidan TU show. We'll have some more info coming in the newsletter in the weeks to come. So let's talk a little bit about this coming week. We got some really mild temps for honestly looks like the next 10 days or so. Brian mentioned last week, this is typically a pretty cold time of year for us. Now through like Thursday, we're in the high 50s, like 64 one day for our high. Later in the week, it cools down a little bit, but we're still looking at highs in like mid 40s to the 50s. So a lot of really good weather coming up. It's going to be a good time to get out and fish and kind of enjoy warm temperatures when we don't always have it. Some of the nights cool down a little bit, maybe beginning of next week. Maybe it looks like a chance at some snow or a little bit here and there. So we'll keep you posted as we get closer to that. But for this week, it's looking awesome. I've gotten some great reports from people fishing the mountain streams. Waters are starting to come down a little bit. We're going to get a little shot of rain on Tuesday. I don't think it's going to do a whole lot, but at this point, we'll take kind of every bump of water that we can get. One thing I wanted to take a second to talk about was nymph fishing some of these mountain streams. I know we've talked about it a lot, but I've had a lot of questions lately about indicator depth and fishing nymphs and making sure that you're getting down. You know, a huge part, especially this time of year, of fishing those deep holes for our fish. You know, I was mentioning brook trout, but this really goes for everything, is sometimes those fish are pretty sluggish and cold and like to sit on the bottom and are not as active as they might be in the spring. You know, they might be not willing to move 3 feet to the surface because there's not as many bugs on the surface. You know, there are times where it feels like you throw your fly in anywhere and a fish is going to chase down and eat it. This time of year, more so than not, those fish might want that fly right into their face. And so if you have the perfect nymph and you're getting a good drift, it might not matter if you don't have the depth right. So, you know, 1.5 times the depth is the thing that you always hear. That's a great place to start, but there's a lot of factors like the weight of your fly, the speed of the current, that can really change that. So one thing I like to tell people is if you come up to a pool and you start fishing a nymph, whether it's on a dry dropper, an indicator rig, whatever it may be, if you fish through the hole a dozen or so times and you're getting a good drift and you're fishing in good water where fish are and you're not catching fish, but you're also not catching the bottom at all, it's time to go a little bit deeper. So take that indicator, retie that dropper, whatever you're doing, make that fly a little bit farther down from what's suspending it, and make sure that fly is getting down. Split shot will help that if it's a current issue, but sometimes you literally just don't have enough distance to get that fly down. You know, if you start fishing again and all of a sudden you get caught on the bottom, your first 3 casts, slide it back down. You know, it's really about just adjusting. You know, when you cast to the head of the pool versus when you're fishing the tail of the pool, that's going to change. Or when you go to the next pool, the depth is going to change. So you know, part of being successful nymph fishing, especially this time of year, is being really good at adjusting that depth and changing to your conditions. So try that out next time you go out. You know, maybe adjust that indicator more than you normally would, really play with it, and you might find that you catch some more fish. As far as flies go, Frenchies, pheasant tails, some of those heavier general attractor nymph patterns, 12s, 14s, 16s, are what I've been hearing a lot of people doing well on. You know, as long as you're getting a good drift, you can fish a lot of different attractors in the mountain streams this time of year. Next couple days, with it being maybe mid 60s, wouldn't be crazy to have some dry fly action. So don't be afraid to fish an attractor fly as your dropper because you could luck into some of that. Spring creeks have been fishing well. A lot of streamer fishing, same kind of general attractor nymphs. If you see fish feeding off the surface, they're probably eating midges or blueing olives this time of year. So a parachute blueing olive or a compared blueing olive in like an 18 or a 20 is one of my favorite patterns. A small Griffith's gnat, those can be great options to have in your box if you see fish rising. Another thing I would say about Mossy and Beaver and some of our other spring creeks, I think a lot of people don't fish heavy enough streamers. They're sticky bottoms. There's a lot of structure that you can lose flies on, but that's part of the game in those streams. There's days where fish are willing to chase a streamer from 10 feet away, but there's also times where, fish are hunkered in and want flies close to their face. And, if you're not losing a fly every now and then on some of those streams, you might not be fishing deep enough. So next time you go out, don't be afraid to add some split shot or fish a heavier fly and really work that down towards the bottom, because you might find that you move some fish in ways that you haven't in the past. A lot of our stock streams close by have been stocked in the last week or so. Some notable ones: South River, Silver Lake, just outside town if you want something easy to go to. Stony Creek, Little Stony, North River Delayed Harvest got stocked again. So that's one of our favorites this time of year. Spring Run. So honestly, a lot of streams within an hour should be in good shape. Take your tractor, nymphs, and streamers, maybe some of the dry flies we talked about, and you should have some success. So we got unusual warm weather, like I said. Get out there, take advantage of it. As always, give us a call if you have any questions. We're always happy to talk you through new places, help you with fly selection, whatever it might be. We're here. Give us a call. Thanks.